Let's also keep in mind that we won the majority of first place votes. Let's focus on the fact that we hit those targets that we have here.
That is Oakland mayoral candidate Lauren Taylor lamenting after losing the race to Councilwoman Sheng Thao. This despite Taylor finishing at the top in the first round of Oakland's ranked choice voting system. This race is once again putting ranked voting in the spotlight, and joining us now to discuss is political analyst Brian Sobel. Brian, always a pleasure to see you. You know, it used to be whichever candidate gets the most votes wins, but this system, boy, it is a lot more complicated.
It is. It's almost like trying to understand Sanskrit or something along those lines, some foreign language. It's complicated, but Heather, it's not new. It's been tossed around and played with for probably 100 years, something like that, in various forms. It is used for federal elections in Maine and Alaska only. Most of the other states do not use ranked choice voting except for more local elections, and there you may see it sometimes. It's actually sort of what's known as instant runoff voting, which just basically means that you don't go through what we're seeing in Georgia as an example, where you have an additional election to try to figure out who the winner will be.
Yeah, obviously those additional elections can be very expensive. So just for folks at home, I want to explain this system of voting. It allows people to have the option to rank candidates in order of preferences, first, second, third, and so forth. So what are the benefits here, Brian?
Well, from a campaigning standpoint, the campaigns have to try to focus on getting that majority out of the box, a 50% plus one, and you win. And ranked choice voting doesn't even come into play. But the secondary campaign is if there are multiple candidates in a campaign or in an election, then you are probably not going to get 50% plus one. So now you have to campaign for being the second choice on people's ballots or third choice, because it ends up being kind of a rolling progression that ends up with the vote. So, for example, in the case of the Oakland mayoral race, somebody could have in the first round the majority of first place votes and not end up winning the race for mayor. And this goes on a lot with ranked choice voting.
Okay, which is what Lauren Taylor is sort of lamenting about. You also mentioned the cost factor. I understand that that could be a reason why some elections, choose to move to this voting system. But, Brian, just because this is a legitimate way of voting, does it mean it's a good idea?
Well, in my view, I think it's unnecessarily complicated. I get it. It makes the need for additional elections unnecessary. But the counter argument by a lot of people is if you can reduce an election down to two people after, say, a multiple candidate, a first round primary, call it, then the focus is really pretty hyper on the campaigns and the words of those two people. Mm-hmm. And in ranked choice voting, that's not going to happen. It's just going to continue to spill out until somebody receives that 50 plus one number, and then they're the elected person. But the focus on a campaign around, say, two opposing points of view gives the voter a chance to really make a selection.
Yeah, we also saw, the Oakland mayoral race, we had 10 candidates here, Brian, so that makes it really difficult to get to that 50-plus mark. And then you also, in these ranked choice voting systems, you have, these alliances being built. You have who would be competitors, challengers, joining forces. Hey, pick me number one, this person number two.
You make a really good point. And that isn't really the way we ought to be voting either, is setting up blocks. But it happens. Yeah. Campaigns are very good at this. And so they know whether there is a probability through polling, Heather, of obtaining 50% plus one. If they don't think they poll that way, then they start trying to make these alliances and other arrangements.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we saw in Oakland. More discussions to follow this razor-thin race here in Oakland, again, that led to the ultimate victory of Councilwoman Sheng Thao. Brian Sobel, appreciate your time, sir. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving tomorrow.
Always. You have a great Thanksgiving as well.
Thank you.